Okay, God has asked me to kind of step outside. Praying about what to do. Haven't done a video in a couple weeks. Feeling like I'm just behind on doing stuff like that. So I thought, okay, God, give me a topic. And He's like, new relationships and old insecurities. And I was like, okay. And I'm feeling that right now because I've been making a lot of new connections and new relationships, but all the same old insecurities are kind of still there because I'm still me. And so I started like looking into things online, just trying to kind of get an idea for what everybody else talks about or what other people think and stuff like that. And I ran across a list of common insecurities. Um, I'm not going to name all of the ones I saw, but some of the ones that I read were overthinking, feeling or thinking like you're crazy or going crazy or that people think you're crazy. I've been dealing with that one a lot lately. I've done a lot of crazy things like buzz all my hair off. It's been a few months. It's growing back. It's coming in nicely. It's good and thick on top, but it's hard to make it sit any which way I want it to, and it does weird things where it just sticks out funky in weird places, and I'm dealing with it. I'm going with it. People think I'm bold for it, and really I was tired of dealing with it. It was simply I wanted to be able to be lazy, and it's going to take a long time to grow out. And there are days that I feel really great and think that everybody should chop their hair off. And it's a great experience. It's very freeing. It gives you one less thing to worry about. But then right afterwards, I went to like a women's conference type event, and I was looking around feeling extremely insecure about myself, going, I'm this chick with like no hair and I don't wear makeup. I'm super just do the plain thing because I'm just me and I do me. And my eyes are allergic to 90% of makeup and it's really expensive. And I don't see the point in spending that kind of money to just look good for somebody else because I don't see it. I don't look in the mirror. I barely see myself when I do the videos, and that's about it. So, I mean, if my husband asked me to, I probably would. Maybe. I would try. Maybe not. I don't know. It's a lot of work. Another one is thinking that if people really knew you, that they wouldn't like you. That's one I've really been struggling with lately. That if they really knew all the mean, awful thoughts that I have in my head, which I don't even have mean, awful thoughts in my head, but all of a sudden I think that I do. And I like chew myself out because I raised my voice at the kids because I was having an anxiety moment inside my head. They didn't know I was having an anxiety moment inside my head, but I'm overthinking and overprocessing and doing all these feels up in here that they can't see. They don't know what's going on, and then they're getting loud and crazy just being kids, and then I snap at them. So then I think if people knew that I was that kind of person that would just snap at the kids, that they're not gonna like me anymore. How can she be a good Christian woman if she's just snapping at her kids? Well, you know what? One of the things that God just told me when I was journaling right now, I do this thing, it's called two-way journaling. You write your own prayers and then you write what you hear God responding to you. He does speak to you. It says in the word that his sheep hear his voice and they know that it's his. And yes, I do hear his voice and I know that it's his. And sometimes I don't know whether or not it's his because I'm so busy in my own head hearing my own thoughts, or the devil's in there going and I'm entertaining his thoughts of negativity instead of really surrendering to God in that process. So you have to really surrender and really focus. And when I first started doing it, I had what a lot of us call a secret place. Everybody's secret place is a little bit different, but mine was an actual place in my mind that I would go to, and I would go and sit on this rock at a lake with Jesus, and we would just conversate, and he would tell me what parts I needed to write and what parts I didn't, and it kind of like would pull me away from the scene with him to write. So when I was building this relationship, I didn't do that a lot. So as I was talking to him just now, before this video going, God, I don't know how I'm even going to post anything about insecurities. Like, I struggle so much with them myself. How can I help anyone else? What's the point of posting a video about it? And he said, because I want people to get to know you. Okay, so apparently I have to be open about my insecurities. Whatever. So he wants me to break down the boundaries that I've set up and the walls that I've set up to protect myself and depend on him more. He's my provider, he's my protector, he's my guider. He is all I need. So if I end up not having friends, cool. I got God. He's going to give me everything I need. And the friends that I do have now are ones that he's brought into my life, and he has said, you know what, I want you guys to build this relationship. Like my friend Sierra and I, we were not very fond of each other in the beginning. And one day God spoke to her and said, you need to go to coffee with her. And she texted me and was like, we need to meet for coffee. And I was like, oh, great. What's the complaint now? And she was like afraid of me. I'm a very intimidating person, as you can tell, because I'm bold enough to do this to my hair, apparently. And through that, a relationship just grew. We both have had a bad struggle with anxiety. We actually co-authored a book and have struggled through a lot of things together, where now the relationship is built to where we know we can be open and honest and true to who we are with each other. And there's a really low level of insecurity there. Whereas when you build a new relationship, you're like, well, how crazy can I be? So it's like I was at a New Year's Eve party and I just, I pulled out some really old, like 90s Christian ska music. I was just like bopping my head and dancing around, looking like a fool. No, there was no alcohol there. I was just acting a fool and singing my little, like, rappy style ska song from the 90s that they're like, I've never even heard of this song. And I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to have heard this song. I like this song. And then I saw a video of myself later and all of a sudden was just flooded with the insecurities of, ooh, should I have done that? Should I have let them know that I'm weird? They're going to find out eventually. I might as well. Another common insecurity that I saw was people feeling lost when it comes to making connections or meaningful relationships. And it's like sometimes you feel like you're on the outside looking in going, yeah, I see them. They have a good relationship. They're talking to each other. They're making it work. And you're like, how do I do that? How do I get a friend like that friend? And really, you just start praying. Start praying for your friendships. And God will bring them and God will build them. And if you feel like you're in a relationship or a friendship that you shouldn't be in, pray about it. God will tell you if you need to back off or back out or take time or whatever it is you need. He'll give you that guidance. Passing thoughts of suicide, not truly suicidal thoughts, but just passing thoughts of suicide. Like, is it even worth it for me to continue to live because you're in such a negative frame of mind? No, you shouldn't be having those, but they are normal to have. Do talk to somebody when you do have them. I have people I talk to when I have those, and they're normally just passing or fleeting thoughts, but they're still disturbing when you have them. Like, again, when I do have those freak out moments, and then I'm like, I'm just like the worst person on the planet, and they would be better off without me. And I tell my husband that, and he's like, no, they wouldn't. Knock it off. You're a great mom. You're a great person. And even now, as I was journaling and talking to God, he told me, he's like, you're good, you're kind, you're loving, you're flawed, but you're mine. You're a teacher, trainer, admin, writer, author even. And so it's like, those are some of the words he uses to describe me. And those are not necessarily the words I would use to describe me. Another one that I ran across that just kind of spoke to me was feeling like everyone's hanging out without you. Kind of have that feeling a lot of times in my past. It's becoming less and less because it's like, if I'm part of the group, I'm part of the group. If I'm not, I'm not. I'm not as bothered by that as I used to be. But, if they're with you, they're with you. If they're not, they're not. It's all good. You do you, they do them, you follow God, and He'll build the relationships that you need to truly have. and feeling like you're all alone or like there's no one who can relate to you or what you're going through. And that's one of the reasons I value my relationship with my friend Sierra so much, is because she pulls me out of that I'm all alone, nobody can relate to what I'm going through, because so much of our walk with anxiety has been so similar. A lot of it is still different. There's nobody who's quite like you. So, yeah, you're going to have times where you feel alone, but almost every irrational thought you've ever had, somebody else has had. It says in Ecclesiastes that there's nothing new under the sun. Like, you're not experiencing something that God doesn't already know about. Nothing that you're going through surprises him. So just talk to him about it, get guidance from him, and move forward. A couple non-Christian little quotes that I pulled were, you've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. And I feel like that kind of needs to become my mantra for a little while, because I tend to do the whole in my mind about myself. And I was watching a video years back about all the negative things that women say to themselves in their mind. Like, you look fat in that. Or, ugh, look at that thing on your face right there. Things that you would never say out loud to another human being, but you say them in your mind to yourself all the time. They actually wrote them down and then held them up on a card, or they actually verbally said them to some other person in the seat across from them. And it was like powerful and moving, because almost everything they said were things that we've all said to ourselves. You'll never be good enough. You'll never amount to anything. You better try harder. You're going to get passed up. They already don't pay you enough. It's right that they don't pay you enough because you're really lazy and dumb and blah, blah, blah. Like, it just goes on and on and on. The negative things that we say to ourselves. And if we stopped and instead started to see ourselves the way God sees us, which I think is why he's been talking to me so much about self-worth and self-image and stuff like that. There's a post on my blog, hopeandloathing.com. Kind of weird name. That's a whole nother story. Check it out. That's what God was talking to me about a couple weeks ago. And then we really need to start seeing ourselves the way he sees us and start approving of ourselves so that we can move forward in better confidence and in more light, knowing who we are in Christ instead of who we are in ourselves. In and of ourselves, we're not much of anything. But with Christ in us, we can accomplish so much. So just food for thought right there. The last one I wanted to share was, the inner speech, your thoughts, can cause you to be rich or poor, loved or unloved, happy or unhappy, attractive or unattractive, powerful or weak. And that one was by Ralph Churel. And it's just some quote I pulled off the internet, but it just kind of spoke to me because it's so true that it's like the words of your mouth have the power of life and death, is what the word says. But even so, your words are formed as thoughts first. And when you're sitting there and you're giving those words in your mind that kind of power, sometimes we give it the power to control us. How we decide to interpret a situation in our own mind can make us happy or unhappy about it. How we interpret things in our mind and how we perceive them and how we talk about them to ourselves in our mind can make us feel loved or unloved. Two people can see the same situation yet perceive it differently. So we need to start thinking about how we're even processing our thoughts and take those thoughts captive and say, hey, is this the line of thinking that's going to make me feel attractive? Is this the line of thinking that's going to make me feel loved? Is this the line of thinking that's going to help me to prosper? Because if it's not, we need to cut those thoughts out. We need to shut those train tracks that those flow on down. We can't go there. We can't do that. So That's all I got for you today. Yeah.